How to buy a house with seller financing. As seller financing, that's a question on many people's minds. Many people don't know what seller financing really is or how it works. Other investors wonder, is owner financing a good idea? And still others think owner financing is a good tool that rarely works in the real world. I understand. These were all questions I once had as well, things that I thought about all the time. And after more than a decade of experience buying property with seller financing, I'm going to cover it all right now. You ready? Let's go. Seller financing, also known as owner financing. It's a way to buy real estate without having to go to the bank. As a real estate investor, it has been an incredible tool for me to pick up both rental and flip properties. I almost always get better interest rates, lower down payments, more beneficial terms, and most importantly, a long-term win-win relationship with a real person instead of a corporate bank. So I'm gonna let you in on what seller financing exactly is and isn't, and then I'm gonna walk you through how it works, and then I'll let you in on the types of sellers that are most likely to consider your seller financed offer. Oh, and by the way, if you're still looking to get that first deal under your belt, I put together a free training just for you to help you get that first deal done. And then how to earn $5,000 a month flipping contracts and properties working in as little as 1 hour a day. And you can access it at mattsfreetraining.com. Seller financing defined is a real estate transaction where the seller extends credit to the buyer. You can think of it as a loan, although initially no money actually changes hands between the buyer and seller. Instead, the buyer usually makes a down payment, and then the seller receives the rest of the purchase price in installments over time. Exactly like how a traditional loan with a bank would work, there's going to be a down payment, and then you make monthly payments to the bank until the loan is paid off. This is just like that, but instead of making payments to the bank, you're making them to the seller. So at its most basic form, seller financing just means the seller of real estate waits to get all of his or her sales price. Instead of getting the entire price in cash at closing, the seller carries back part or all of the price. Now, there are many variables at play, but the general process will look something like this. 1, you find a seller with equity in their property. In other words, they've got no debt or a relatively small amount of debt that can be paid off at closing. 2, the seller deeds the property to you, the buyer. And then 3, you then give the seller a promissory note, or a contract if you will, that outlines all of the terms of the seller financing. And then 4, the buyer also gives the seller a mortgage, or trust deed in some states, to secure the promissory note against the property. Your purchase of a property using seller financing will look very similarly to a purchase that uses bank financing, but there are some nuances that you need to know. In your typical real estate transaction, the bank brings the money, the seller brings a property in the form of a deed, the buyer brings a down payment and a promise to pay back the money to the bank that they're borrowing, and the closing agent brings a promise that the property has good title, and a title insurance company backs up that promise. A seller financing transaction is similar, but the key difference is there is no bank or third-party lender. And it looks like this. The seller brings a property in the form of a deed, the buyer brings a down payment and a promise to pay the seller the entire purchase price, and the closing agent brings a promise that the property has good title, and a title insurance company backs up that promise. This time, no loan is actually made because the seller doesn't physically give the buyer money like the bank did. Instead, the seller lets the buyer pay on credit over time, like an IOU. That's what seller financing really is. And everything within that IOU is negotiable, like the interest rate, the payment amount, the term, the collateral, and so much more. You can get really creative with seller financing if you want, as long as the seller agrees to it. For example, you don't even have to pay the seller money. I mean, you could barter. You could pay by providing a service. You could pay in cryptocurrency, or you could pay in goats or chickens. This is one of my favorite aspects of seller financing. As long as you and the seller agree, anything goes. You don't get that type of flexibility with a bank. Try stuffing a chicken in the envelope and mailing that in as your payment. Now that you have an idea of what seller financing is, I'll let you in on the magic of actually making it work in the real world. And that has to do with finding the type of sellers that will play ball. And before I go there, if you take your real estate investing seriously, let me know by smashing the like button. And if you'd like to learn more about seller financing and other creative acquisition strategies, click the subscribe button as I post money-making ideas like this each and every week. That's all we do here. So here's the deal. Not every seller will be open to seller financing. In fact, it's the few that are. So how do you find the ones that are open to it? Well, to find them, you have to know essentially what they look like and what would drive their decision to accepting a seller financed offer from you. You know, a while back, I looked through all of my seller finance deals to try and identify a common denominator amongst them all so that I could go out and target my marketing to find more of them. And here's what I found. The vast majority were burned out landlords. Now, there were plenty of exceptions that were willing to carry financing for me, but the majority were burned out landlords. So if you want to give yourself the best chance of buying properties with seller financing, I recommend that you focus on these burned out landlords first. So what is a burned out landlord? Well, it's basically an owner of an income property who has become fed up with tenants and all the other details of owning rentals and dealing with tenants. And if you don't study the best practices of landlording, it's easy to become burned out. For some examples, landlords that I've dealt with became burned out due to living too far away to self-manage their properties, to leasing to a friend or a family member that takes advantage of the relationship when it comes to paying, or not paying at all, their rent. It ain't easy or pleasant to evict someone close to you. Also, inheriting a property and attempting to become a landlord and doing it all wrong and losing money. And then managing in a lower income neighborhood where management can become challenging. Or just flat out retiring from the landlording business and looking to take it easy, yet still needing the passive income. The common theme here is that all of these burned out landlords were motivated. This doesn't mean though that they were desperate or unaware of what was going on. In many cases, they had more business and investing experience than me. But there was enough motivation in place for me to negotiate win-win seller financing terms. So if burned out landlords are your number one source for seller finance properties, how do you find them? There are many ways to do this, and I've tried them all, but here are a few ideas that have worked best for me. Start looking for absentee owners. Absentee owners are property owners who don't live in the property. By sending letters or postcards or text messages to absentee owners, some of them may fit the burned out landlord profile. And I get my lists of absentee owner landlords from propstreamepic.com. Or you can sometimes get lists from your local county tax assessor for free. It just takes a little bit more work, that's all. Then eviction records. Eviction court cases are public records in most markets. So look up the owners in those records and then you can contact them by mail or phone and ask if they'd like to sell. This is often the peak time of motivation after being frustrated with tenants enough to file eviction papers. Also look for vacant houses. You know, when you drive or walk around your target neighborhoods, also known as driving for dollars, you're gonna see vacant houses. Track down the owner and ask them if they want to sell. Some owners will be landlords, and this vacant house can cost them money and create stress. So you will be offering a solution to their problem. You can also pull lists of vacant houses all across the country from propstreamepic.com too. And then networking. Participate at local real estate meetups, real estate investor associations, and online forums. You will sometimes meet rental investors who are motivated to sell a particular property. Also, tell everyone you know that you buy properties from people tired of managing their rental properties. And then look for properties for rent. Find for rent signs, look for those and ads in the classifieds, both online and off, and contact the phone number. Give them a call. I mean, after gathering initial information, ask if they'd be interested in selling. You know, they just might be a burned out landlord too. After all, their property is currently vacant, and they likely just had to put some money into it to get it ready for a new tenant. And once you find one of these burned out landlords, set up a time to view the property, build some rapport, and present your seller financed offer of price, the down payment, and the terms to pay that balance. When you understand the benefits of seller financing for the seller, negotiating a win-win deal will be much easier. So keep these seller benefits in mind. The seller, they'll have the ability to save on closing costs. They can produce significant capital gains tax savings over time. They can sell faster, and often with the ability to, and as is condition, they won't need to make the repairs. And they'll be released from property tax, homeowners insurance, and various maintenance expenses. They'll also have the option to sell the promissory note to another investor. If you'd like to go deeper into investing in real estate using seller financing and other creative options, I've got a series of free lessons that break down a number of different strategies in great detail. And you can get them all for free at creativefinancing.us. That's it for now. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon. Take care.